There are a lot of employees who are using different AI tools behind your back that you're not aware of.
The idea of governance in this space is pretty new.
It is,
There was a lot of make and break development.
Yeah, we have done a lot of anonymized surveys in a lot of different organizations. Every time we have identified that they have been actually using ChatGPT. Your governance team is sitting on one side, and having no idea of what's happening within the business on the floor.
In the business sense, governance should never be a box to be ticked.
That's right.
Governance should be the framework of how you operate.
Or use AI, but don't use any confidential or sensitive information in it.
That's my favorite. Use AI, but don't put anything in there.
It's clearly made by people who don't know how AI works. As a director in Australia, now you can be personally liable for data security.
Yeah.
If there's a prompt that's injected into a person's Copilot, it can actually leak company's full information.
How do we protect against that? Hi everyone, welcome back to the Dumb Monkey Show. We're so glad to have you here. I'm Davina Montgomery, and as always, I'm joined by our co-host and founder of the Dumb Monkey Academy, Amir Katoub. Amir, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Now, we got a little bit deep in the last couple of episodes, and
a bit dark as well.
We love a deep and dark chat. That's the world as it is, and some really interesting conversations that came out of it. But you and I were chatting during the week, and we realised that we'd missed a step. And we spend a lot of time pointing out that lots of organisations and potentially businesses are missing steps, but we've done it too.
We have,
So we need to go back and make this our first episode. So hi, everyone. This is episode 1 of the Dumb Monkey Show. Please listen to this and then go back and apply this to all of the terribly sensible things that we've tried to say up until this point. I mean, we need to talk about governance.
That's right, yes.
So before we start any business operation, any business enterprise, regardless of how big it is, governance has to underpin what we do.
Absolutely.
Why is that important when it comes to AI?
Well, initially I thought that a lot of organizations would have governance covered because I thought that's probably the first step, and that's why I didn't focus a lot on it. But as we are seeing what's happening around the world, that organizations are taking care of governance in some form or shape, but it's not working out. So
and these are big organizations. We're not just talking small organizations. We're talking big. So please don't feel bad if this is triggering for you, because we're talking some of the world's big companies, certainly some of Australia's big companies, but right across the world. Big organizations, big enterprise operations.
And some of those organizations consult other organizations on governance and policies and so on as well. Yes.
Indeed. Yeah. Or perhaps adjudicate on it in the case of the legal profession.
Yeah. So probably first thing is to remove the shame out of it. Like I want to actually come in support of those organizations who have tried and made a mistake.
Yes.
And there's an opportunity for all of us to learn from those mistakes as well. Because it's a new world. Like we have never been exposed to AI in such capacity before,
and we've never seen this rate of change.
Yes.
Not just change that things are moving, but this rate of economic change, this technological change, business change. It's kind of everywhere. So we're all in this chaos period, and you're exactly right. It's really important that we say, "Hey, we are all going to make mistakes."
Yes.
So this was our mistake. We're now going back to episode 1. Doesn't mean that we haven't said some good things beforehand. Please don't throw it all away. And that's part of the thing, isn't it?
It is.
We don't need to throw the baby away with the bathwater. This is important to be able to say, hey, we missed a bit, or we haven't got this right.
That's right. Yeah.
So what are we going to do about it?
Yep. And then also I thought that traditional governance would be enough to cover what's happening in AI. So like that's covered. We don't need to worry about it. There are, risk committees. We have got chief risk officers. We have got cybersecurity officers who can take care of it. But apparently it's not working out. And the reason it's not working out is that a lot of governance has been developed for a very traditional space where people were the one who were actually doing the work.
So and structure, isn't it?
Yes, and they were using tools. So you could put governance around the tools and systems, and then you can put governance around people, and then you get a very good outcome. But over here, what's happening is that actually AI is not just a tool. Sometimes it's the doer as well. Sometimes it's actually making some calls. So the confusion that's been happening around the world is like, do you treat AI as a person and put that in the governance? Do you treat AI as a system? And actually both of the answers are wrong. AI governance in itself needs to be looked at in a very different context and a very different lens. And from there, work it all out. And one of the biggest risks that we are seeing, Davina, at the moment is shadow AI, which means there are a lot of employees behind your back who are using different AI tools and systems that you're not aware of.
And this sounds, a little bit conspiracy theory, but what we're actually saying is that this is very real.
It is, yes.
AI is being implemented in all sorts of ways that we're not aware of. So when we're saying shadow AI, we're not saying that this is in the shadows. It's not a deep spy operation and James Bond is not going to come out and save us. This is just, it's happening and we're not aware of it.
And these are not, the people who are trying they are not bad employees. They are actually good employees who are actually trying to be more productive with their work. And probably they do not have a very clear direction from their organization, or there are too much restrictions. So a lot of initial AI policies that I saw, some organizations, the policy was don't use it.
Don't use it.
Yes. It was as simple as don't use it.
Don't worry, everyone. No one in our organization is using AI.
Yes.
Except for the ones that are, but we just forgot to tell you about that.
That's right.
Or we don't know.
Yeah. Another funny one that I've started to see is use AI, but don't use any confidential or sensitive information in it.
That's my favorite.
Yes.
Use AI, but don't put anything in there.
It's clearly made by people who don't know how AI works.
Well, I think it's that sense of what it does is it feeds into that idea that governance is a box to be ticked. And in the business sense, governance should never be a box to be ticked.
That's right.
Governance should be the framework of how you operate.
Absolutely.
So I think when you and I are talking about governance, we might be talking about it in a slightly different way, regardless of that AI needs its own conversation. But governance in general is not something that's just there to follow the rules of. It's there to actually set up how you operate, so that you can not only it's a guideline for you to come back to, and almost that sounding board for you to come back to, but it's something that you share with the people that you work with, the people that work for you, and the people that you're working with externally, and customers and the like. That you're telling people who you are and what you do.
That's right. And if you, no matter how good governance you put in place, if you are not thinking about what people are doing outside that governance structure. So for example, that use of shadow AI, use of chat GPTs or Claudes or Groks outside of business's knowledge, which is quite common, which is happening a lot, right?
Yeah, and anyone out there who thinks it isn't is kind of kidding themselves, right? Like,
yes, yeah.
That's not to say that it is in every business. Of course, that's not true.
Yeah, we have done
but it's probably soon going to be in every business.
That's right.
I mean, it's on our phones.
Yes, it's in our phones. It's on our computer. There's like this shiny Copilot button that a lot of people can see. Everyone has got access to chat GPT nowadays. There's like it's already out there. People are seeing their colleagues using it, their friends using it, and so on. And we have done a lot of anonymized surveys in a lot of different organizations, right from SMEs to large organizations. Every time we have identified that they have been actually using ChatGPT.
Yeah, and that's really that's the feedback that we're getting from around the world as well. This is certainly not Australia specific. If you're following the IT news around the world, that this is ubiquitous. Everywhere is reporting the same thing. That look, everyone's being told, or a lot of people are being told not to use AI. A whole lot of people are still using it. What are we going to do?
That's right. So people are going to be using AI. First, we need to accept that, and then we need to build governance around that. We need to, and of course, it starts with a policy where you clearly identify, okay, how are we going to use AI? What are the systems that we are going to put in place? How should people use AI as well? But the policies themselves are not enough, because you can have an amazing policy, but if people don't understand it, people won't follow it.
Yeah.
And it's not because people, what I'm seeing is that the way policies are written are too ambiguous in nature as well.
They've been overly legaled.
And also, again, things like don't put any confidential information.
So trying to cover everything, trying to cover all bases in once, and it's not really practical.
Absolutely, it's not. Like, it's probably too strict.
So how do we make them more practical? How do we make them more to the point?
So we worked with one of the large health organizations, and we reviewed their policy. Again, the policy was too strict, saying like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. But there are a lot of use cases in real life when, even if you look at the policy and if a person is wanting to do something, it's very unclear for them in terms of, do I do this? Can I do this? Can't I do this? And so on. So it's actually about taking the policy and translating it for the people, for their use cases. And that's where training comes in. So making sure that people are trained on the policy and the actual application of the policy as well. But for that, your policy needs to be right as well.
Well, it has to be really clear, doesn't it?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I mean, is it just me, or am I thinking that this is kind of the area where you would actually want an AI agent to be set up to train your people so that they can be almost an internal chatbot, just sort of say, can we check in with our policy and is this right? Is this wrong? What are we doing?
100%. That's a great idea. But
if it's not clear in the first place,
Yes.
then you can't get those answers.
That's right. And it's also about being AI policy being practical as well. If you are saying, we're working with a law firm, they said they've got a policy that don't put any client-related information in the AI, like use ChatGPT
It's a
Enterprise.
very broad term, isn't it?
Yes.
Client-related information.
Yes.
And I think that's probably, again, something that a lot of businesses would bump up against.
Yes, because you are giving them a tool saying you can use it to do this, but just don't put any client-related, or people say, don't put any sensitive information.
So what are they using it for? To create cat videos? Like, how are you supposed to use it?
That's right. And then how would a normal day-to-day person in their day-to-day life, before they put in any prompt, decide whether it's a sensitive information, whether it's not? Like, it's just a big responsibility on the person.
So it's things that aren't making a lot of sense, and therefore, in as we do as people, when things don't make sense, we'll just go and find another way.
That's right. Yes.
Or we'll find a workaround, or we'll hide it so that it's not seen, which is that point of that shadow AI in a sense as well. So what do we do, Amir? How do we make this conversation a bit more real for people that are trying to set up a business operation and kind of going, okay, get it, policy that makes sense, great, a policy that my team can refer to and go back to and use it as that standing point, that touchstone to kind of go, should we or shouldn't we? When every time they're asking that question, should we, shouldn't we? How do they get that information? Because it has to be as quick and as clear as possible. People are busy. They don't have time to go searching around to find the right policy, because there's, I don't know about you, but how many organizations have multiple policies.
That's right, yes.
So you're trying to find the right policy, you're trying to find the most accurate, the up-to-date version. Now you're trying to find the piece that relates to specifically to this that I'm doing here. And then I've read it and it said, okay, we can use AI if we're using, I'm going to spitball here, we're going to say, okay, my organization says it's okay to use Microsoft Copilot because we have an enterprise license and it's a good tool to use and reasonably safe, but don't put any sensitive information, don't put any client-related information, don't put any personal information. And I'm trying to write a report on some aspect of our business that has to do with clients. How do I do that?
Yes, and because if there's no guidance, then either they won't be using Copilot, and that's what's happening is a lot of people who are risk-averse are staying away. A lot of people who don't care, they are just putting the information in there as well. But it's also about being, as I said, being practical about it. If you have invested in a Copilot 365 license, and I'll probably take it a step backward. When you are doing a policy, before that, you need to identify, okay, as an organization, what do we want to do with AI? What are the right tools for that? And evaluate those tools, analyze those tools. What are the risks associated with those tools? And then finally approve the use of those tools. And also, what is the use that you would allow that tool to do? For example, 365. If you do an analysis, you identify, okay, every information is actually sitting within my Microsoft environment. It's very similar to how my emails and SharePoints are stored and secured. If you are clear and comfortable that this information is not going away, then...
So, and by not going away, we mean not being shared onto a
third-party server.
A third party or an AI model that's being trained on this data.
Yes, yeah. In that case, what's the point of saying we do not put any sensitive information or do not put any client information on that? But if your organization's requirements are in such a way that you cannot put that information, then you need to very clearly identify the use cases of where you can use AI versus where you can't use AI. Then you have to say, okay, we would allow you to use AI to create marketing content. You can use AI to create job descriptions. Like, these are particular areas where you can use AI, and these are the areas where you can't use AI. So that very clear distinction of telling to people how, and which means you need to do a lot of work in the governance, like setting up that right. But you need to do that. You need to provide that clarity to the people so that people can actually follow it.
Yeah. Because the danger in this is if you don't have a clear policy and if you haven't done that kind of work to set that up in the first place, then you're going to be making ad hoc decisions. They're probably not going to be pretty transparent. They may differ depending on your day and your mood and what's come up or how much attention you're providing. And then all of a sudden you can end up in a situation where you're all of a sudden in the news.
That's right. And a lot of people, what they are doing in their policies, they are putting like something like Copilot within the policy itself. The problem is that you cannot keep on changing the policy. Your policy needs to be more of a static document. And then you need to have like an approved tools list or a tools register, which needs to be added as an amendum because that's a living document. What it means is that, for example, with Copilot, for example, right now organizations saying, okay, you can use Copilot 365. Now, Copilot, they are actually launching a version where they are actually allowing you to use Claude as one of the models. Now, Claude is something that has not been tested for enterprise security. And they are not purchasing Claude. Like what they did with ChatGPT was they purchased ChatGPT or GPT-4o and placed it within their Microsoft servers.
So it stayed within the same environment.
Yeah. But with Claude, what's going to happen is that it's going to be it's going to be sending the information to Claude and then coming back.
And that raises a real issue, doesn't it? Because AI governance itself, as in the companies and the people who are producing AI products, the idea of governance in this space is pretty new.
It is,
There was a lot of make and break development. And there wasn't an awful lot of thought as to how we make this trustworthy and reliable.
Yeah.
And, we've all seen the warning that pops up, and this is AI can hallucinate, and please check what the response is because it may not be accurate. We're starting to have more broader conversations and deeper conversations around the kind of data that's being shared and being more mindful and being careful around where that is and hopefully putting some guidelines around that as well. But it's a really big fraught space because it's not as simple as just saying we need to tell our people how they can use AI within our organization. But we need to be aware of what this AI actually is itself and then what potential risk that comes with that. How do we expect someone who's running at an enterprise level, you might have a team, you might be bringing consultants, and hopefully there's a conversations at least that you can start having. Yeah. And again, it's okay to not have all the answers. That's fine. But have the conversations, go and find some information and start looking at some really practical structures. And I'm sure we'll dig into some of the things, some of those places that people can go. But what if you're a smaller operation and you want to be good at this? How on earth are you supposed to navigate that?
So first thing is to do a model evaluation and understand, okay, if I want to use whatever, ChatGPT, Grok, whatever it is, what is it consuming? Like what information can we provide to it? What is it doing with that information? That's the first thing to really
And how can people find that out?
That's actually available in their privacy policies. So that's a good starting point. You can take their privacy policies, their terms of conditions, chuck that into a ChatGPT and say, hey, can you identify what are they going to do with my data?
Yeah.
Yep. So it starts with that.
So use the AI to ask the AI what it's doing with your data.
That's right. That's the first step.
Because let's face it, no one's going to read all through it, depending on who structured the privacy policy, but those things can go on for days.
It can, absolutely. Yes. Yep. It's also a common knowledge now that like there are some free versions that's going to consume your knowledge, train their models on it. There are paid versions that will still take your knowledge, place it on their servers, but not use your knowledge. And there are enterprise versions that are not going to use your knowledge at all. So we have got clarity on that. And again, if you as a business owner,
information is freely available.
It is, yes.
You don't need to dig too far to be able to find
and it's your responsibility as a director of a business to have at least that level of AI literacy to be able to understand that if you want to roll this out. That's first thing, which is how it's consuming the information. The second thing is you need to understand what that model is being trained on. Like what was the source of that model?
This is really important.
Yes.
Really, really important. And this is where a lot of a lot of the shadow AI problems that have come up. And this is also where a lot of enterprise, even at an enterprise level and certainly at small business level, can find themselves being tripped up.
Absolutely. Because imagine you creating something from AI, like a piece of content, article or photograph. But the model was trained on copyrighted information, but you have published it on your website, so or wherever you have used it. So you will be held liable for using that copyrighted information. Not like AI models; they've got lots of money, and the companies that are doing it,
that's a hard case to try and pursue. Much easier to go after the small person that's used a variation of your work.
So you need to know what is it actually being trained on, and like how is it being trained on. Third is the information that's coming out of the model, how reliable it is. We have talked a lot about hallucination. So how reliable is that information? How much you can rely on that? What are the sources that's coming from?
Also bias.
Bias is a
huge.
big one. Yes.
It's a really big issue. I mean, I think as a business community here in Australia and in many parts of the world, there's been a lot of focus, a lot of work, a lot of lobbying, a lot of information sharing on how to build fair and equitable processes within your business. And then you can go and implement some AI that will be absolutely biased on race, gender, sexual orientation, on disability status, on age. You don't need to go too far into some of these models to kind of go, effectively, if you've just been trained, if you've got a model that's just been trained on the internet, we all kind of know the stuff that's on the internet. It isn't exactly a fantastic representation of how we'd like our business to be presented, let alone how we'd like to see the world. And it's just a factor that, we know that so much of AI, particularly when it was produced in Silicon Valley in America, I mean, skin tone.
Oh, yes, 100%.
It's a huge issue. Computer vision models being things that can read video, not being able to differentiate or having a problem in low light with someone with a darker skin tone. It's some of these things can be really simple and really deep and really offensive.
They could be, yes. And you can do some simple tests, with like, I tested with previous version of ChatGPT. If you ask it for a photo of an office secretary or receptionist, then most of the time it would create a photo, like come up with a female receptionist or secretary. Or similarly, if you ask it for a photo of a construction worker, it's going to be a male. No, so there are like a lot of these biases that because of the data that has been trained on.
Absolutely.
And then, it sort of starts to go into other deeper territories in terms of where it starts to come up with the images of the people. Like if you, and I haven't tested it myself. I have seen something on social media. If you ask for Uber drivers, it's come up with mostly with people from India or South Asian descent.
Exactly. So let's really embed those stereotypes. Let's go hard on those AI.
Yes, and it's just because it's been trained on what the information is. But the problem is that if you start to utilize those biases to make decisions, then it starts to have a very negative effect. And we have seen the effects in terms of the hiring of the people and a lot of...
really interesting field in HR and recruitment. Absolutely.
And so a lot of the new HR systems, they are already coming up with embedded AI, right? Now we just choose an HR system and say, okay, this is fine. And what they do is they would shortlist the candidates for you and say, okay, these are the candidates that would be good for this job. Now, if you've not checked what's the underlying model, what are the biases in it, then you as a business would be held responsible for those biases and discrimination. So one of the good checks to do is whatever AI you are putting in place, and in terms of AI policy, the system structure, you need to check it against all of your other policies in terms of how many policies it's actually violating. Your sexual harassment policy, your workplace safety policy, inclusion, diversity. Because there are chances that like your AI model can actually start to affect all of these policies.
You can have worked really hard to put good policies in place and to train your team and to have checks and balances in place, and it can all come undone because of an AI model.
Yes, and it can like throw it all out of the park very, very simply.
Where would you tell people to go? So if someone's listening to this and they're interested and they'd like to be able to start taking these steps, even just to start the conversation internally and to start setting up some policy structures or doing the work that will then feed into their
Right.
policy, where do they start?
So I think first step is for them to actually set up a small AI governance committee. That's where it starts with. That sets out a very clear objective of, okay, we need to set up an AI governance in place for our organization.
Would you recommend that the people on those committees use AI?
100%. So they need to have training of.
You see where I'm going
Yes,
with that?
that's a very good question, because I have seen a lot of people on those committees or involved in developing these policies who have not used AI. So of course, and it's not traditional AI. They need to be able to have used Gen AI to understand the implications.
Is it fair to say we would encourage businesses to think outside the box here a little bit? You might have your traditional governance structures that you've relied upon, and they may well have served you and your organization and your people. But being that this is a new world, maybe be a little bit more open-minded about who might best serve you and serve the company or the organization that you're in by sitting as those recommending, as those people that are looking at this.
Yeah, and you cannot just simply rely on your CIOs and chief risk officers and traditional directors to do that.
When we think about that, even that structure, do we need to be thinking about things like who's doing the work? Who's actually going to be accessing the AI to then implement that?
Yeah.
And is there someone in that field or that team that can then be
so you definitely need those AI champions in your organizations or the AI users in your organization to be a part of that committee, because then they can tell how we are using AI, because every organization uses it differently, and unless they hear from the people who are going to be using it or what's possible for their organization, they can't think of controls that they can put in place.
No, and traditional governance structures will tend to have members of your executive team or specific subject matter experts, but what they often don't have is the people who be sitting at their desk or at home or going out to meet your clients and doing the functional work that they're going to be accessing the AI for. And it feels like that's a missed opportunity.
It is, yes. Yeah.
So go and speak to the people that are doing the work and find out how they would use it and have that feed into your policy structure so that you've got a chance of actually putting something in place that people use.
That's right. Yeah. And I think also very important to actually have a person who understands AI, even from an external perspective in place as well. Because, and I'm calling out a lot of organizations, large organizations who think they already have an AI governance and AI policy in place.
Yeah, your chief technical officer does not necessarily have a deep knowledge of AI and how it should be implemented.
Yeah.
They can be fantastic at their field, incredible at running the system or multiple systems and making them work. It doesn't mean that they're an AI expert.
That's right. And I've done it multiple times. I'm not a governance person.
Yeah.
And if it comes to any other policies, I can't do anything around it. Like I would always use experts
do you go and find a governance expert at that point?
Yes. But like I have...
And there are great governance experts around as well.
Oh, there are. Yes.
And websites and tools around.
Yes, but I've sit across the board of different organizations and look at their AI policies, and I've just poked holes on it. It's like, what about this? What about that? Rather, like not even spending time on it, just looking at it and saying, how about this? How about that? If a person wants to do this and so on. And then they just don't have any answer because they did not think about it.
Yeah.
So, first step is revisit your AI policy and make sure that it's...
Maybe grab the Dumb Monkey Academy or the...
Yes, yeah. We have got an AI policy template on dumbmonkey.ai as well. It's a generic template. I would say there's a bit more work that you need to do, sort of look internally.
But for somewhere to give people somewhere to start and a framework to start even looking at how they set this up and how they scope it out before they take those first steps. That can be really valuable as well.
That's right. And so you need to have a policy, and then you need to have like a register of the tools that you are approving. And you need to have a process of approving the use of AI or the use of the tools as well. Because if you have got a policy and say, no, just use this, the problem is, Davina, that every SaaS system that you are using, they are introducing AI into it as well.
Software as a service team.
Ah, yes. So every software that you are using in your organization, Salesforce, NetSuite, they are all introducing AI, right?
Absolutely, they are. Yeah.
So now, or Employee Hero, like HR team are using, or marketing team is using Canva, right?
Yep, and it's on your employee's phone. It's ubiquitous. It's already you're already using it.
They launch a new feature Now you are not keeping up to date with the new features that are coming in,
No.
and it's not and because they are all on web, people get the updates. Your team members
so something like Canva is a really interesting one, isn't it? Because obviously Canva is used particularly by marketing teams or people who are producing, so sales teams that are doing presentations, things like that. So it's generally used to produce externally facing materials, or internally, but could be for internal comms and the like. But the people that are using it are often, it's leaning very much as a visual, it's a graphic design platform. So they've got a lot of templates already in there, but you can add in, you can upload anything into that. And that's another one of those, it would be very easy for people to be uploading copyright information that perhaps they shouldn't, or, not going to look for royalty-free images that they put in there, or adding in music that's copyrighted. It goes on and on and on, let alone people's written work.
And then it has got AI features, so you can say create an image, do this, do that. So it's as dangerous as a chat GPT or like the risks that are involved by using an open model is very similar to the risks that are now in Canva or in Salesforce or in any tool that you are using that's introducing AI. Now, because that tool has already been sitting approved in your IT policy somewhere, now your marketing team is using Canva and there's a new feature. It's like, wow, that's a new feature. We are going to use it.
Yeah, this is great. This is really cool. Look what we can do.
Yeah. And like the AI in Canva can exactly do almost everything that ChatGPT can do because you can give it a prompt, it can produce the information, it can create a report. So all of the risks that we had with like a normal AI model are now repeated multiple times through these software platforms.
Don't be afraid. It's okay. And it's okay to not know everything. I'm going to keep saying that a lot. Don't be afraid. It's okay. It's okay to not know everything.
A simple solution
but we need to be aware.
is to have a list of all of the approved tools. And it's not just Copilot. It's about any software where
so
AI is being used.
What are you using in your business? What are you using in your organization?
And what are the approved AI use cases as well? So, for example, with Canva, what is actually allowed, what is not allowed? And as I said, a way for people to get an approval to use an AI tool. Because if you create that boundary, you create that friction, what's happening is that your governance team is sitting on one side, and having no idea of what's happening within the business on the floor. People on the floor are seeing these amazing things that they can do, and now they are waiting for the governance team to catch up. What you need is a way, a process or a system so that these people at the floor who are doing the work can ask for an approval to use a tool, a system so that you can quickly check and assess the tool, and then either approve or reject or provide guidance on that. And that's something that needs to be happening in a living environment. So your AI governance committee cannot meet quarterly or annually. It needs to meet at least monthly to be able to catch up and make those decisions as well.
That's a really good point because, when you talked about AI governance being quite different, that's part of the reason why it has to be so different is because everything's changing so fast.
It is, yes, yeah.
So a static document that frames out how you want to approach this is a really good idea.
Yeah.
But the implementation, the monitoring and the maintenance of that implementation or how things are rolling in your organization has to be really dynamic.
Oh, absolutely. Because like Copilot 365, earlier in January, February, it was a very simple chat tool. It was integrated in email and so on. In March or April, they came up with a lot of new features. They came up with an analyst, a researcher. They came up with projects and like so many things that were not in there. Now, every new feature introduces a new risk. Of course, it adds a lot of opportunities, but introduces a new risk, a new bias, a new ethical issue as well that you need to be aware of. Now, if you're just relying on that previous approval and saying that's fine, and then ChatGPT said, okay, we are introducing GPT-5. Now you can use GPT-5 in it. Now, if your organization has not tested GPT-5, what's possible, what's not possible with it, you're not aware of the risk or the challenges with that as well.
I've got to tell you, Ami, this is making me feel a lot better for the people that have had those AI hiccups that have sort of gone a little bit viral.
Yeah.
Because this is really complex.
It is.
There are a lot of elements to this. Yeah. There are a lot of shifting dynamics and a lot of things that need to be thought about in advance that you're not really getting any warning about. It's not like someone's coming out and saying, hey, by the way, you need to stop and review all your governance structures because this is changing.
Yes, because it's just happening on the go.
Yeah.
Like even image creation models are getting better and better.
Oh, incredibly.
the problem with them getting better and better is that the type of images that can create is changing as well, which means that like people are discovering new prompts that can create images that can again violate a multiple amount of policies within your organization. So, and intentionally and unintentionally. So now, as these models are getting better, the complications are increasing as well.
So it feels like there needs to be layers of governance that we need to be thinking about, and governance in the terms of who are we, how do we want to operate, what do we want to do, how clear do we want to be about that, what are our values. These are all things that need to be structured throughout the workflows now, because it might be that someone's sitting there and needs to go to their supervisor to ask a question, or it might be that an executive manager needs to go out to their board to go and check this off again. There's going to be all these layers through it, and it can't just sit in one place.
Yep. And then there are multiple level of risks as well. So it's, with most of the tools, when you do an analysis, it's generally one or two types of risk. Like if a user is doing something wrong, then there is risk. Or if something goes wrong with the software, then there's the risk. Over here, with AI, the risk is that even like if the user is following the right instructions, because every time the output can be different, even if the model is consistent as well. So how do you accommodate for that variability in the output? How do you work around biases? How do you work around hallucinations? And hallucination is a very huge risk because like what we saw in case of some organizations was the AI hallucination that caused a lot of problem.
So case law has now been impacted by AI hallucinations. That's right. There's been cases submitted into courts in America.
Yes.
And that was based on a whole lot of it was hallucinated case law.
That's right. Yes.
So they put an argument forward, said, "Here, this is our brief. This is what we're putting in. This was not a small case or a small law firm, but the AI had produced a whole lot of references and case law that just didn't exist. Made it up."
That's something that we see on a day-to-day basis, where AI makes things up. There's a whole piece.
Because if it doesn't know the answer, it will find the answer.
That's right.
In the same way that we're saying if people are told that they're not allowed to use AI, they're going to find a way to do it anyway.
Yeah. So which means that we need to put... So there are guardrails on the system, but guardrails on the people and how they use it. But then a huge amount of education piece on how to use it right. Yeah.
And to give people tools and ways to understand, to grow their knowledge, to be able to ask those questions and to get a bit curious about it. Because otherwise we're all flailing away at our desks on our own, trying to figure out what the answers are.
That's right.
And not knowing. So that's a place that we need to really put some consideration into.
Yeah, absolutely. Which means that in your governance structure, you also need people who are AI champions, who are actually training other people on how to use the AI well.
Yeah.
So again, earlier with most of the things, like with, for example, your sexual harassment policy, like the policy is don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And it's easier to do it like that. But for you to implement an AI policy properly, you first need to tell people how to use AI right. And because if you're not telling them how to use AI right, then they're going to use it wrong.
When it's wrong.
Yes. And they're just going to use it and it's not going to be to be good. So there's a lot of training that needs to go in educating people on how to use AI right, how to assess the response from AI, whether that's correct or not, and how to use their own judgment. And also where does the accountability sits with AI and telling people that the accountability sits with them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think one thing that I would say, though, as an organization, if you're going to take the approach that the accountability sits for the person using the AI, but you haven't trained them, I think the accountability should sit with you.
That's right. Yes.
Because it's like any tool. Yeah. You can't just give your employees a whole lot of tools and not train them how to use them and then say, hey, go out and, do your worst. And they do. Yeah. And then punish them for them. I mean, the impetus here is on leadership, on governance leaders to say, okay, well, we need to get better at this.
Yeah. There's another angle to it, which is around the security of AI. So as a director in Australia, now you are personally liable, or you can be personally liable for data security. Yeah. And the thing is that we do not even properly understand what are the risks now with like some of these large
I
language
think
models.
we've spent the last 10 years worrying about cyber breaches, and now it's a whole new ballgame.
Yes, because all you need is a prompt that's injected into Copilot of a person that can leak an information or send an email, because Copilot can control email, right? So right now it can't send an email, it can keep the draft or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a prompt that's injected, it doesn't need to be a proper code or anything into a person's Copilot. It can actually leak company's full information or just capture all of the information and store in one particular folder as well.
So how do we protect against that? What should we be doing?
So first is a very strong security audit of the systems, and I'm going a bit technical over here, but it's a technical field.
So this is probably, this part of the conversation is probably more for people who will be with their hands on.
Yeah. But also for
systems.
the directors as well, to be able to ask the right question. So one of the question is, have we done penetration testing with this large language model? Penetration testing means, have we tried to break this system and see, first of all, if it breaks or not? Secondly, have we done an analysis on, if it breaks, what are we losing over here? Like, what is the worst case scenario? What are the risks to our organization if something goes wrong? A lot of these security attacks, they're not very sophisticated. Some of those are like social engineering, like, a person leaves their laptop on or inserts something like a USB drive or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So if a user who is a manager in an organization, if their Microsoft password is somehow breached, what damage can it do to the organization now versus what it could do earlier?
Yeah.
Or if someone can get access to a browser or put a cookie in the browser, what can it do as well? And now all of these new AI browsers are coming as well. Like ChatGPT has got Atlas, and Perplexity has got their own as well. But also, like, Google is embedding AI search in there as well. So everything is going AI. Like your iPhone is a bit late with AI, I would say.
They are. Yeah.
But like all of the Android devices have got AI in it as well. So the potential of the damage that could be done to an organization is enormous.
Yeah.
And secondly, now these hackers who were writing the code, they are using AI to create their scripts as well. So the amount of security attacks has significantly increased as well. So making sure that your systems are protected in this new world becomes more and more important as well.
And look, nothing's going to be foolproof, particularly not in a time when development is so fast. So if we know that mistakes are going to be made, and they will, and it's okay, we want people to lean into AI. We want people to see the benefits of it, particularly in their business and their organization. What would be the top 3 things that you would tell every business to do as soon as they can in the space of AI governance?
So first is make sure that you have a governance structure and a committee that's actually meeting every month, and that has people representing who are actually using AI and some people who actually know Gen AI, who understand this stuff. Number 2 is making sure that your AI policy makes sense. It's practical and it's clearly communicated. Number 3 is that the people who are actually using AI are actually trained on using AI properly. Like, it's as simple as that.
And keep talking about it.
Yes.
Keep talking about it with, amongst yourselves, different levels of your organization. Keep the conversation flowing.
That's a good point. So organizations who are implementing AI properly are the ones who are investing a lot of energy in it, doing like monthly AI meetups and roundtables and huddles and learning from other organizations as well. Because this is a space that we are all moving into. It's a new space, so we all need to learn and get better with it as well.
And the best thing we can do for the people that we work with, regardless of what your job is, to be able to say, I don't know.
Absolutely.
Does someone know about this? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And as a director, if you're not sure, if you have doubts, be the dumb monkey, ask the dumb question and keep asking the dumb question, bring in an expert, like ask people internally, but you need to get those answers. Like, not knowing is not good enough.
I think that should be at the head of your AI policy. Is not knowing is not good enough.
That's right. And one of the biggest things again, if you don't know how a decision was made, saying, oh, AI recommended this, then that's a big red flag.
Everyone just send up the sirens. Don't hit the red button.
Yeah.
immediately stop and find out what's going on.
Yeah, because you need to know exactly how a decision was made, how a recommendation was made, and you need to be able to trace back that process as well.
Yeah.
If you do not have that traceability, then your organization is already failing.
It's a fascinating area. And look, AI is going to force and to create some huge changes and opportunities in the space of governance as well. So I think that's a conversation we're going to come back to. But I hope that you all have enjoyed what probably should have been our first episode of the Dumb Monkey Show. But hey, we're dumb monkeys too. So we get it wrong. We didn't know. And, we're asking the questions now. So we hope if there's one thing you can take away from this episode, it is those last top 3 things. Please start having these conversations and come back to us and send us in some questions if you have them. Amir's fantastic. He'll provide some good guidance.
Absolutely.
Plenty of links and information, as always, that come with this. But thank you, Amir. It's a really important conversation and absolutely one we should have had earlier, but I'm really glad that we had it today.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time on The Dumb Monkey Show.